Is this the public speaking portion?
Yep.
It is.
I will just go on record.
You got 5 minutes.
I don't need 5 minutes, but I will go on record as saying that this shoreland overlay is incredibly cumbersome and poorly worded and poorly, it just, the whole thing reeks of overly structured and overly controlling government, in my opinion. I can understand the need to monitor a shoreline, like I get that, but that concept, like for me, for example, I've got whatever 45,000 square feet. I could cement the entire thing, and that's perfectly fine, but I can't put a building on there, and I truly question the difference. If the logic of it is a impervious surface, it just seems kind of ridiculous. So just throwing that out there, and I realize that, I'm one of the only C1 buildings and properties in it, but there are probably other properties that have had to kind of fight some of the same 30% lot coverage issue. Just my opinion, never, you know me, never.
Is that a county?
I was gonna say, isn't that governed by the DNR?
I have no idea where it came from. I don't know the history of it. I thought it was a city
It
thing.
is. Because one time we were gonna, somebody wanted to get rid of a platted road that was never a road. And it went right down to the river, and we had to get approval and everything from the DNR before it could be done.
So the county implemented this all the rules implementing based on the shoreline, and you guys just had to.
I'm almost positive that's what it is.
Still willing to share my thoughts, but it is what it is. It's just frustrating.
Well, I'm thinking, AMPI must run into that a little bit.
Well, I think Valley Industry, I think there's several, as we build along that corridor, it's cumbersome. Let's just put it that way.
Well, whatever happened, I don't even remember. I know when Shelley you were talking.
Yeah, down there.
Were we able to close it? I don't think.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Yep, and it went to the property owner.
Because it took a lot of red tape. I
Yes.
remember that.
Yep.
That was down there by Albright.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. No.
So is the watershed district involved in this stuff?
It is the shoreland overlay district. I have no idea where that developed. Apparently, and that makes sense, Gene, that it was the DNR driven.
Pretty sure it's the DNR that's got those
So
rules.
Paul is more of the DNR, not the watershed district?
Yeah.
Sure, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, I know we're also, Jennifer's going through with Bill Spooner, all of our zoning ordinances right now. So it's something to keep in mind as we get closer to finalizing those, at least making them easier to comprehend.
Yeah, or, and I guess I would love to see the dirt work part of that, and I do appreciate the $500 break of being able to put it all into one, but still that concept that if that could be somehow incorporated into the building permit, that, hey, it's in the shoreland overlay district, so you're gonna have to also do A, B, C, and D, and it's just part of that process rather than consistently having public hearings over digging a hole.
You're saying you don't like coming here for all the public hearings?
You want me to be nice or honest?
It's all this business.
Well, maybe it would help if we had treats.
Had what?
Treats.
Hell yeah, chocolate would make a hell of a difference, yeah.
I did try that too.
I've suggested multiple times that we should at least have Rachel bring us a big pot of coffee every night.
Yeah.
That hasn't come yet. We need to start scheduling these public hearings later so our visitors stick around longer.
I did. I was gonna say something different, but, I do have the drawing, I don't
You're not
know if
saying
anybody
that.
cares. but-
Chuck in.
But I actually don't have a license, so I gotta ask her.
Yeah,
Every time you see it.
Are you first or second? I'm second. I'm at
This is the only time
6:30.
that I bet on it.
I didn't know what time, so what time to leave here? Oh, we're at 6:15. God, we got lucky. You got some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't go earlier, but I don't think the rules keep us from holding it later.
It's pretty well scheduled, when it's scheduled.
Well, the agenda didn't go to page 2, so you're sitting okay.
It did not, you're right.
You're sitting okay.
Sometimes it does. Or the back side, anyway.
And we're not on double letters, so that's good.
Yeah, you're sitting okay.
But the informational packet is 118 pages.
Yeah.
You guys don't have that part.
That's good.
But if you want one, I'm sure we can find one for us.
Tarek, I need to shoot you an email if you could take a look at that.
Okay.
He had another phone call.
Okay.
You're still down there.
Is what?
You're still down there.
All right, so it's 6 o'clock, we'll get started. For those of us here in the room, we'll start with our pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we do have Tarek and Dennis McQuaid joining us via Zoom, so they're here. I can see that, they can't see you, but they can hear everything that's going on. And then we will be moving old business H up to be addressed after our consent agenda, so that we can get moving with that a little bit, or at least a part of it. So with that, we'll go to the council activity reports. I don't have too much. We did have a public safety meeting where the members who were present were gracious enough to let me skip out so that we could go home and I could be with the people who came to visit us. And then I had a meeting with the Highway 23 Coalition, had their quarterly meeting, along with, I don't remember, the community conversations, is that what Fishback, or not Fishback, but the District 13 people? Yeah, with Representative Damath and Senator Howe. They had one of their meetings a couple of weeks ago. I attended that as well. Nothing terribly interesting to report from any of those. Highway 23 put up the signs along 23 out by my parents' house, and that's about all they had to say. So, yeah.
Yeah, we have the, what's the committee for personnel?
Oh, labor negotiations.
Labor negotiation meeting last week, and last Wednesday I had the Green Roof committee meeting. Lots of interest in giving us advice for the trailer park. The new, lots of questions on the new senior facility, 55, so people are concerned about what's happening.
All right, Megan.
We had an EDEP meeting on the 18th. We had a virtual meet with a representative from the Initiative Foundation. We also discussed the Shopko sale and a few other things. I did a ride-along with Officer Hawkinson, and I attended the virtual focus group to assist with the superintendent search.
All right. Chief.
Planning Commission and EDAP both last week. The EDAP's planning's on the agenda tonight.
All right. Paul.
Policies and procedures. And I think you were there, Sean.
Oh, yeah, we did the interviews.
You're right, because you had that sore throat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm back. I'm with you.
Okay.
All right, moving on to our department head reports. Mr. Bergen.
All right, thank you. In the parks, downtown, the planters hall have been planted. I'd like to thank Natalie Hutch and the landscaping class. They came out and volunteered their time and effort and got that done. The splash pad, fishing pier, everything has been opened. We did have a very eventful weekend, a lot of people out in both of them. RV dump obviously is open. Out at the airport, the FAA did their 503 inspection. They come out every third year to do that. Tours at the water plant, Thursday, Jay Thompson is gonna bring a couple of his classes down during the day. We will give them the tours of the water and the waste treatment facilities. The AMPI project, we do have several manholes downtown, right in Railroad Washburn, that are gonna need some rehab. And there's gonna be some bypass pumping going on, so if you see some hoses laying downtown, that's what is gonna be going on there. And tentatively, that's the second week of June. And with the dry conditions, we have started the irrigation system up for the getting rid of our wastewater. Thank you.
Thank you. Then before I turn it over to Chief Wagner, I'm just gonna say I'm gonna step out. I'll turn the things over to Gene in case I just have to grab something off of the printer, but Chief.
Thank you. So just a couple things. There's been a lot of talk lately on social media about the ordinances as it relates to semi-trailers in residential districts. For those who are wondering, there is a city ordinance against it. An individual who would have a trailer on their property is a reasonable period of time to get that off, to unload and get it off the property. Just so the council is aware, we have been dealing with this situation extensively for probably a week or two now. The individual with the trailer has until August 1st to remove the trailer from the property. So just so you guys know that, you know, we're aware of it, we've been dealing with it, we've been trying to work with the other property owners to come up with solutions to be able to hopefully unload the trailer quicker so that, you know, they can get that out of there sooner. We also have received some complaints about parking on sidewalks. So I just wanted to kind of remind everybody that there is a city ordinance that relates to parking on city sidewalks, even if it is in your driveway, that the vehicles need to be off the sidewalk when you're parked, just so you guys are aware. We've been working with Stearns County, Centric Care, started to start having conversations in regards to mental health and chemical dependency. We're seeing a significant uptick in those cases in town. We're seeing some of those cases that are turning more volatile, but we're also running into roadblocks with the space and places to put people. So we're going to be reaching out to state legislators as well as our federal representatives to start this conversation, start dealing with kind of what the problem is. You know, as law enforcement, we get the back end of it. We want to start addressing the situation on the front end so that we're not having to get involved and get into some of these situations that we are. Unfortunately, we've made the decision that we're going to be canceling the golf tournament this year. Just with everything that's been going on and the fact that we weren't sure where the state was going to be, there just wasn't any good time to move it to, and we just don't have time to try and throw something together in a month. So we're going to bypass that. We're going to still try and do the rest of our programs this year, and then we'll get back to the golf tournament next year. And then starting next week, I'm going to start having probably bi-monthly meetings at Firehouse Coffee. I've talked with Senator Howe and asked him at some point if he'd be interested in joining me for just sit down where people can come in and chat. The plan is I will be there for sure next Tuesday. I haven't set a second date for June, but if anyone would like to just come down, chat, ask questions, I'll probably be there for about an hour where people can just come in and communicate.
What time?
From 8 o'clock to 9 in the morning. And that's all I got.
All right, thank you. Tarek.
Yes, over the past couple of weeks, I attended the Public Works Special Hearing Budget Plan and Policy and Procedures. We also held the interviews for the liquor store and the D&B positions. In addition to that, I attended the planning board meeting regarding rezoning of the Shopko building for childcare, which I think we will discuss. Also attended the EDOC board meeting where we had a representative from the Initiative Foundation to speak about the programs they offer. Attended the public safety board meeting last week where we discussed the emergency preparedness plan, such as mask mandates and
Thank you.
So then with that, we'll move on to the, our consent agenda, which includes the minutes listed on page 1, the vouchers updated and included on page 2, totaling $459,455.77, along with the police resignation and sale of K-9. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move it.
Second. I have a motion by Sony, seconded by Hertzberg. Any further discussion on that? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None. That carries. All right, so then we'll move at least part of old business, letter H, up to the beginning for COVID-19. And basically what I wanted to move up is the city's preparedness plan still contemplates all city employees wearing masks as part of what was prepared in order to reopen City Hall back when the DMV was closed prior. The recommendation by the Public Safety Committee is that the preparedness plan be revised so that employees do not need to wear masks unless they are sick. And if somebody's showing some sort of a symptom, like even if it's allergies, then encouraging mask wearing then, so that that stuff is not spreading around. So I think we'd like to start by taking care of that. If there's a motion to approve that or otherwise deny, maybe?
I have a question.
Yes.
The city employee would become infected with COVID-19, would masks be required to be worn again to prevent infection from further spreading?
I think that's something that Paul from Public Safety, we talked about ongoing revisions to the preparedness plan, and that's something that would probably need to be revisited if an employee tested positive.
Yeah, I believe if an employee tests positive, that employee would still fall under the CDC and MDH's guidelines. They'd be required to quarantine at home. So if they tested positive, they still wouldn't be allowed to come back to work. So the mask really wouldn't necessarily be.
I mean with the co-workers, if there was potential contact.
I guess we never really discussed that. I suppose that's probably something, you know, to consider. I think a lot would depend upon the exposure.
Yeah.
You know, were they exposed for a significant period of time to this individual? I mean, technically, if they were, they're supposed to be out anyways.
Right.
So I think that just kind of all depends upon the level of exposure that they would have.
A lot of hope and a lot of common sense would travel far with that.
'Cause I mean, you know, even under the new CDC guidelines, you know, if you're exposed as a vaccinated individual, unless you're showing symptoms, there's no requirement to quarantine or change your behavior whatsoever. So.
I'll make a motion to approve masks becoming optional for the staff and customers in all city buildings, provided there are no symptoms of illness. Masks are encouraged for any staff or customer that feels more comfortable wearing them.
Okay, we have a motion by Soini as stated on the action sheet. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Thielen. Any further discussion on that? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of making masks optional for staff and customers in all city buildings, provided there are no symptoms of illness, and encouraging for any staff or customer who feels more comfortable? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None? That carries. All right. Now that's done. Okay. Well, we might as well address the rest of that. We have, well, we're almost at 6:15, so let's talk about the leave, and then we can go into our first public hearing.
The public hearing?
Yes. Okay. So, as part of all of the COVID things done last year, the city did approve 2 weeks of PTO for any employee who tests positive. The recommendation from the safety committee is that that continue at least for the time being until this clears up, I guess, in full. So one of the justifications for that is it's been used, or it might be used by an employee who gets vaccinated, who might be sick for a couple of days. They could use this PTO rather than otherwise dipping into their sick time.
I'll make the motion to continue to allow staff up to 2 weeks of COVID sick leave for COVID-19 as needed for full-time employees and a prorated amount for part-time employees.
A second.
And we have a motion by Soini, seconded by Brick, to continue to allow staff up to 2 weeks of COVID sick leave for COVID-19 as needed for full-time employees and a prorated amount for part-time employees. Actually, if it's not out of order, Councilmember Brick, if I could ask you to take back your second, you might want to abstain from this one.
True. Yes, I will
Is there somebody
abstain.
willing to second that motion?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Hertzberg. Any further discussion on the, so the motion is to continue to allow staff up to 2 weeks of COVID sick leave for COVID-19 as needed for full-time employees and a prorated amount for part-time. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? And did you abstain?
Yes.
Okay, so 4-0 and Councilmember Brick abstained. Thank you. Okay, so then with that, it is 6:15. We will close our public meeting, or our working meeting, and go into our public hearing on the variance request for Lewis and Quad L. All right. Gentlemen, you are here, so if there's anything to say, I would just ask that you use the podium so that we can hear you. We have a variance request put forth before us. Planning board did review and meet and discuss, and it did recommend passing. We have talked a little bit about this in the past, but if somebody wants to just give us a Reader's Digest version of what's going on, that would be helpful.
No, I think we've talked about it enough. Well, where everyone works, huh? We get 3, 4 of them up here, really look famous. At this point, I think we've talked about it enough, so unless there's any other questions.
This is the final plat, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions, or should we close out our public meeting or public hearing and go into the, back into our business meeting, huh? Okay. Gene, any notes that we need to know from planning?
No, everything is, it's basically getting rid of the railroad property.
This is the variance that you're having here.
Oh, this is the variance one.
Yes.
Yeah, there's like 3 different things.
Right.
All right, well then we will close our public hearing and we'll reopen our council meeting. And since we're here, we might as well. There it is. Old business, letter D, we might as well jump ahead to that and just take care of that. So that's on page 68 of our agenda. And we'd be looking for a motion to approve or deny the property variance.
I'll make the motion to approve the Lewis Properties LLC and Quad L Partnership variance.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Hertzberg, seconded by Soini, to approve the Lewis Properties LLC and Quad L Partnership variance. Any discussion on that? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None. That carries. Thank you, guys. All right. Then getting back onto our regularly scheduled programming, we're down to new business, letter A, the ordinance amendment. And again, Mr. McQuay is here, or LaQuay, excuse me, by Zoom. All right. Dennis, since we haven't talked about this before, you want to give us just a little backstory of what you're asking?
I have
We've got to do something different here. It'll be back to the plat, like,
What we're planning on doing is purchasing the shop building and putting in 3 to 3 other Class B retail operations or offices and approximately a 14,000 square foot childcare center. So we have about 132 children and approximately 29 employees. This will be our childcare center. We have 4 right now, 3 are, we're starting with, 1 is currently being remodeled. So it's, I think that there's no question that being so quality childcare center, I think we can provide it.
And this did also go through planning, is that correct, Gene?
Correct.
And everything's in order and recommended for approval?
Yeah, there's no changes to the ordinance except adding another business that's allowed in that area. It still will be C1 commercial. Right, Bill?
Yep.
which makes it allowed in C1 and C2.
Yep.
And everything's in order time-wise and notice-wise? I know we're doing this on an expedited basis, but it all seems to be up to par. Okay. Does anybody have any questions or discussion? Mr. LeQuay? We'd be looking for a motion to approve or deny the revised ordinance.
I'll make the motion to approve ordinance number 21, third series.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sony, seconded by Thielen, to approve ordinance number 21, third series. Any further discussion on that?
I just had a quick question, just that our local providers are wondering about. What is the tuition for the centers that Mr. LeQuay usually runs?
So the question, in case you couldn't hear, is it came from Councilmember Brick that she got from some of the local providers, which is just what is the average cost of tuition?
I can't give you that information yet. That is, number 1, proprietary, and number 2, until we know exactly what the build-out cost is going to be, I cannot establish that. But the best way to give you an answer is it will be at least what the county maximum allows. In other words, we do accept children who are on some form of assistance, and we do not limit it to any numbers. So if all 132 children were on assistance, we would be charging at least the county minimum. Or excuse me, the county maximum that the county is allowed to, that the county allows to pay. Does that make sense to you? Do you understand what I'm referring to?
I do, yeah.
Okay. That's the only answer I can really give you. We don't want to charge anything less than what the county would provide. Because that's literally throwing money away. But I'm budgeting based on a number that I'm hoping we will be able to get. But I know we are extremely competitive in St. Cloud. I have 4 facilities, and we're nowhere near the highest. And this would be this center that we are designing would be the premier center in about a 100-mile radius. It will have an indoor playground, an outdoor playground. All the rooms are going to be meeting all of the codes, of course, but we go
But it does appear that the Stearns County reimbursable rate is about $241 a week. Just as-
That would be for infants.
Yeah.
Yes, then 216 toddler, 201, 158. So,
I can tell you what my rate here is in St. Cloud. My infant rate is 159. I can't tell you what the rate is there because I don't want to be charging more than what I need to meet our obligations. So we're very, very close in St. Cloud. That would be my highest rate, is of course infant, and we're $14 a week above what the county maximum is. Now, please understand something. We have to wait 1 year to get our 4-star rating. They will not give it to you, even though my other centers are 4-star rated. So we have to start over. At the end of 1 year, if you're 4-star rated, you would get 20% more from the county than that $141. So what we find is by being a 4-star rated center in St. Cloud, county assistance basically pays our tuition. So we're not charging more, where some facilities are charging as much as $350, and they're going to $400 and some dollars, from what I understand, in June for an infant. So we're nowhere near that, because we don't, I just don't think that's right. And we've been under that policy for 16 years.
and I do know
But I
that,
hope that understand.
yeah. I know what my brother pays, and it's more than $250.
Yeah. It was almost that like 17 years ago, so
All right.
surprised.
So any further discussion on this then? Okay, hearing none, seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None, that carries. Then we'd be looking at a motion to approve the summary.
I'll make the motion to approve official summary of ordinance number 21, third series.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Hertzberg, seconded by Sony to approve the summary. Any further discussion on that? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None, that carries. All right. Dennis, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
If you're welcome to stay around if you want.
I'm sorry, I can't hardly hear you. I apologize.
Oh, I said
Listening carefully.
we're all done. Feel free to stick around if you need to.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Okay, we have a few minutes then before our second public hearing, so we'll go along to letter B, the parade permit. So the school's hoping to host a graduation parade on June 6th, looking to use city property and approving the permit.
I'll make the motion to approve Painesville Area Schools parade permit, allow them to use 605 Lake Avenue for staging.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Hertzberg, seconded by Brick, to allow the school's parade permit and allow them use of 605 Lake Avenue for staging. Any discussion on that?
We're 605 Lake Avenue.
Across the street from my house.
It's by the ambulance.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None? That carries. We're almost there, Bill.
All I got left is to clean the fish pond filter, so take your time.
Tara, can we cover the life insurance in a couple of minutes?
Yeah, right now?
Yep.
All right, we looked into life insurance coverage, and the current coverage that we have for employees is $25,000. When we asked our insurance agent, is that adequate, is that kind of in line? And he said, it's actually not in line. Most cities have $50,000 or more life insurance. So we asked them to go back and look at how much extra that would cost the city for all of our employees. And the cost is roughly $1,200 per year for the entire city staff if we were to double the life insurance amount. So we feel that the cost of this for the additional benefit is actually not so bad.
Is there room in the budget to support that?
Yes, there is. He also gave us an example of other cities, and what they, were targeting the area. So if you want, I can give you a couple of examples.
Sure.
All right, for example, the cities that currently have the same $50,000 life insurance policies are Cold Spring, Eden Valley, Wake Park, Montrose, New York Mills, and Dawson. Those are a few that are in line with that number. Some other cities, the larger cities, have more, but for a city our size, 50,000 seems to be about average.
All right. So our direct competition is what you're saying? Cold Spring
Yes.
and Eden Valley. Okay. Any questions for Tarek about this? Someone wanting to make a motion?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to increase the life insurance coverage for full-time employees from 25,000 to 50,000 in coverage through Lincoln Financial Group.
So we have a motion by Soini to approve the increase in coverage. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Hertzberg. Councilmember Brick has indicated she will abstain from this. Any further discussion on this? Okay, hearing and seeing none. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And that carries. Thank you. All right, it is 6:30, so Mr. Hoops.
Pretty straightforward, just looking to expand my business, and ran into the unfortunate issue of the Shoreland Overlay District and the 30% requirement. And it's an interesting thing because it's weird how it's laid out. I actually wouldn't even needed the variance if it wouldn't be for the fact that we have to measure the eaves. So, but it is what it is. So we want to expand and hire more employees and grow and pay more taxes, and this is the situation. So that's pretty much it. I'm always willing to ask or answer questions if there are any, but that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Okay. Planning to approve this? Bill, we had talked about combining this with, was it the conditional use permit?
Yeah.
All of that included on here?
It is.
Any questions before we close out our public hearing and go back into our business meeting regarding the variance request? Okay, if you wouldn't mind just going to the podium here just so we can hear you.
I'm Doreen Miller, I live at 112 Lake Avenue North. The only question I have for Bill is if it's just going to be a mechanic shop yet, or if there's other businesses that are going to be coming into his building at all. I'm just curious about that.
Okay, thanks. Bill, if you wouldn't mind?
Would you like me to do that?
Yeah, if you could, that way everyone can hear you when we've got the recording.
I appreciate the question. So what we started with in 2016 was a CNC machine shop and an automotive repair shop. We had the need and the opportunity to do more fabrication, and so this kind of expands our machine shop capability to machine components and weldments and then weld them together. So it does expand our abilities. So we are already doing a fair amount of fabrication in our expansion from 2018. We had a 50 by 50 addition, and initially that was warehouse, and then it got, because of the need, we insulated and heated it and do fabrication there. And what we'd like to do is turn that more into the shipping and receiving and staging area. Right now, if you were in there, you'd realize it's really challenging to build things and still move forklifts around in a 50 by 50 space. So this allows us to move that fabrication to the new area and to have that more shipping and receiving. So, yeah, that's really, I don't know if that, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does, yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Bill, how many employees are you looking at adding?
I currently have 3 plus myself, and I'm looking at, might have another one as quick as tomorrow, so we'll see. We're trying to steal one away from another business, so we'll see how that goes. That's what you gotta do nowadays, it seems.
Well, they're hard to find, they are, especially good ones.
Yep.
Doreen, I think you said that answered your question? Okay. All right, anything else? All right, then we'll close our public hearing, go back into our working meeting. And we'll skip ahead to old business C, the variance request by Bill and Nancy Foods.
Bill does a great job with the businesses that he has, and the old Oasis building he's fixed up so nice, and thanks for doing a good job, Bill.
Thank you. That's,
And with that, I'll make the motion to approve the Fuchs variance.
I'll second.
Motion to approve the variance by Hertzberg, seconded by Brett. Any further discussion on that? All right, here, seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None. That carries.
thanks, folks.
Good luck. Go.
See you next time.
All right. The library lighting.
Okay, thank you. We looked at this about a year and a half, 2 years ago. That is switching out all the old T8s to LEDs. Total cost on this is $4,542. With the $856 rebate from Excel, our cost will be $3686.09. Our payback time calculated out with all the run times that we get on them would be 5.5 years. The Public Works Committee did look at this and they have recommended it. Funding for this would come out of the municipal building CIP, which currently has about $10,000 in it.
So there can't be much in there.
That's one budget that the council will need to give some attention to come budgeting time. Any other questions on the proposal? Haynes Electric locally will be doing all the wiring, which is included in this cost. So.
Questions for Ron, or is there a motion on this?
I'll make the motion to approve upgrading the library lighting to LEDs in the amount of $3,686.09 after the rebate.
Second.
Motion by Hertzberg, seconded by Soini to approve upgrading the library lighting to LEDs in the amount of $3,686.09 after rebate. Any discussion on that? None? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None? That carries. Shelter improvements. Ron again.
Okay, down at the community park, there's a 30 by 24 shelter was donated to us roughly 10 years ago. This still's got the old rough shingles on it. And it's one of the shelters that we also have troubles with birds flying into. If anybody's been down there and looked, we have chicken wiring underneath. That would take care of it. The city would take care of that also. It's soffits and a liner steel inside of that would spruce it up quite nicely. We do have two prices, one from Evans and Vanderpool Construction. The low being from J.P. Evans at the 5778 there. The park committee did recommend this, and that would come out of the park CIP.
Is that one we moved in from Roscoe or someplace?
Well, it was moved in from the park right out by the golf course.
Yeah, by the,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
I knew it was one we moved in.
I believe that was Lions at one time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it could be.
I
Lions
believe
steel.
you're correct.
I think so, yep.
Now, this is gonna be steel.
Correct, and that will match into the other existing building. That
So,
really has.
Was it green?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
I'll make the motion to accept the quote from J.P. Evans in the amount of $5,778.79.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Soini, seconded by Thielen, to accept the quote from J.P. Evans in the amount of $5,778.79. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None? That carries. Okay. Ron again, boat landing.
Okay, the boat landing, We've been throwing this around for about a year now, but whenever there is an event at the shelter, obviously they want and need the parking that we have down there. And over the last year or so, the boat traffic out there has gotten to be quite a bit. At least we do see a lot of overflow of boats, trailers parking in the other side. And so when there is a reservation, we would then post or make these here signs visible. We would have one up in front and two in the back with a double yellow line or something going across to identify it. And we would like to just say, no boat trailer parking beyond this point, and probably would add on to that, violators will be towed. And again, these would only be posted when there's an actual reservation at the beach or in the shelter.
How often does this happen?
The shelter is rented, I would say right now, I probably have about 20 times over the summer.
Okay.
Mainly weekends. During the week, it's generally not.
Unfortunately,
Thursday nights.
Landing's also busy.
Thursday nights could be an issue.
Yeah, the concert in the parks.
Sure.
Yeah, so.
Would it be just during the time of the rental? I mean, like if they're having an event from noon to 8, then just, or would it just be all day?
Oh, chances are very good it's gonna be all day because we're not gonna run back out there. We don't know
And
how
have
long
them-
we're gonna be there.
And make the move, yeah, that wouldn't work, so. Okay.
But we do need the council's authorization to post the signage.
Now typically, Saturday and Sunday, I suppose, is the most boats too.
Very likely. I guess one thing that is nice, there is one of the fishing tournaments where the group actually came and rented the facility.
Oh.
So at that point, they can have the,
Whole parking lot.
right.
Well, I'll make the motion to approve posting no boat trailer parking beyond this point signage at the Veterans Park shelter parking lot.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Hertzberg, seconded by Soini to approve posting no boat trailer parking beyond this point. I assume that also includes authorization to say violators will be towed?
Yes.
Okay. Signage at the Veterans Park shelter parking lot. Any further discussion on that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
How is this going to be enforced?
I guess if it gets to the point where somebody is violating it, it would have to come down to the people that are utilizing it. They would have to call the officers.
Okay.
Generally, we will be there in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and after that, it would be up to the people to,
And the police do some patrolling there. If you see
Yep.
problem,
My guys do stop out there occasionally, so during their
Okay.
travels during the weekend, if they see somebody, if it's posted that's in violation, I mean, they would have the right to tow. I don't know if we would necessarily just cold tow vehicles.
Sure.
It may be, we look at it at least initially as a complaint type basis. If the person renting the shelter isn't having any parking issues, do we want to tow the vehicle? And that's kind of a fine line.
Yeah. Okay.
And I imagine, that on our fine schedule, it's probably a fairly nominal fine for parking in violation of a posted sign. I'd have to look, but I'm guessing it's not much of a penalty.
No, you're probably not talking anything more than maybe
20
10 to 20 bucks probably. The tow bill's gonna be far more than the
I know.
ticket.
Yeah, for sure.
Any further discussion on that? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None, that carries. Okay. Boat landing signage.
okay, we received a couple or several complaints about the actual boat landing, people coming in. unacceptable behavior at all hours of the morning, and I guess we just want to, or the park board just wants to get the message out there that any rude and obnoxious behavior will not be tolerated. So I guess we would like to go post a sign out there, warning. Let's see, what did we put? This landing is in a residential area. Please be respectful, or restricted hours will be imposed. No lights, loud noises, or vulgar language will be tolerated. There is a misconception out there that we have to have the boat landing open 24 hours a day. If you read the agreement, which I put in enclosed here, that is not true. We have to be open 16 hours per day. So the council does have the authority to close it for 8 hours a day if they would so choose.
So that would be your 16 hours, would be like if you went 6 in the morning till 10 at night.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Quiet hours are 11 to 7. Right?
And it may come to that if, okay. But at this point, we're gonna try the sign, and that
We're
would
going
be
to try and
step 2.
sign, and hopefully people will get the message and.
I'll make the motion to post signage at Vets Park, boat landing, warning users, this landing is in a residential area. Be respectful, or restricted hours will be imposed. No bright lights, loud noise, or vulgar language will be tolerated.
Okay, we have a motion by Hertzberg as stated on the action sheet. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Soini, as on the action sheet to post a sign. Any further discussion on that? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. That carries. All right, improvements at Gazebo Park.
Okay, last item from the park board, a welcome garden. I think everybody's got the diagram there. It's just to the north side of the gazebo, and it would include, there's a little memorial there currently and a flagpole that would encompass that. And we'd put in a number of daylilies, black-eyed Susan, some ruby spice. There's some sage, Helena plant or two, some alzanias, strawberry yarm. Went through it a couple of, or several meetings, and this is what was recommended. I think it's $1,875 installed, and again, that would need to come out of the park CIP. But I think it's will bring our parks up one more level of professionalism, and they also discussed, I think in the first meeting, if the informational sign, possibly posting one of those out there also.
Now, Ron, I see it says new flagpole. On the back, new flagpole.
Well, we talked about a new flagpole. I think actually, but we have one in our shop yet. That we were going to surplus, but we decided to keep it. We'll use it there.
Because that flagpole probably is in need of paint and about done. Huh?
Yeah, that's.
It's a few years old.
Well, that park is getting used a lot more than it used to.
It is.
There's so much more stuff there now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's busy. I'll make the motion to approve the quote from Wimmer Landscaping in the amount of $1,875 for the welcome garden at Gazebo Park.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Soini, seconded by Hertzberg, as on the action sheet, to approve the quote from Wimmer Landscaping in the amount of $1,875 for the welcome garden at Gazebo Park. Any discussion on that?
Ron, that money's in your park budget.
Well, it would come out of the park CIP, and that currently is at, I think it's $66,000.
Okay. All right. No further discussion. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. That carries. All right, turning then to our updated agenda, the hiring of a police officer. All right, Chief.
Thank you. With the resignation of Officer Fred, kind of went through and looked at potential options for replacing the position. Currently, the overall budget for just staffing purposes is $458,736. I looked at a couple different concepts, one being hiring a part-time unit of several officers that could stabilize the schedule within the department. So you have a group of 3-4 guys, 2-3 guys, something like that, that would be allowed to be plugged into the schedule when guys took off, but also pick up Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every other weekend, again, to assist in stabilizing that schedule. I also looked at the costs for just simply hiring a 5th officer back for the department. To hire the 5th officer back, that total came to $462,891, so it's a little bit above. But the thing to remember is that 458 number included Stephanie as a 50% position, so this actually would create a savings for the city and for the department over what we currently would be functioning under with a 3/4 time secretary's position. That 462 actually figures in that 3/4 time position as well. The part-time unit, if we were to say, go to that, put in a full-time secretary being, I think we got a application last time for the secretary's position, would basically be the same as what we're paying right now. If we left it at a part-time, there would be a significant savings down to 438, 256. We would still need that part-time unit to cover about 1,700 hours a year, between covering every other weekend, covering up to 600 hours per year of officers' time off, as well as training and other things that come out during the year. My big concern with hiring the part-time unit, I like that concept. My concern is, in the current culture, I'm afraid we're going to cycle through people consistently. The cost of training and consistently going through officers is significant. I think it's in our best interest to stabilize, a 5th officer position versus that part-time unit, just because the wear and tear on the guys who are currently here is going to be significant if we're constantly cycling through guys in that part-time unit. We're going to be in a perpetual state of training if we do that. Not to mention, cost just in equipment can range, up to close to $5,000 just for equipment and uniforms to get somebody started.
Are there other cities that have this same problem that you know of nearby, where they keep churning through officers after they've been trained?
Agencies our size, yes. And unfortunately, we end up being a training ground. Right now, our staff that is currently here, they're not here because of money. They're here because they like working in the city of Paynesville. We've got several guys in our department who could easily walk into other agencies, and that's what happens. They move on for higher dollars, they move on for more opportunities. Belgrade PD has pretty much been decimated. And Casey's turning people over a lot more than we are. His only full-time guy he has left has less than 3 weeks of full-time experience, and he's going to be hiring again. Cold Spring PD just lost 2 officers, plus 2 part-time officers. With everything going on in law enforcement, this is a common thing. Agencies our size were always a training ground for other agencies. It's just the nature of the business. But it's getting worse, and a lot worse than it's been. The applicant pool, I just spoke with a neighboring chief today. They had 8 applicants. They interviewed 4. There were only 2 that they were willing to even consider to hire for 2 positions. They offered the position to one of them, then like, right before you called me, I got a job offer with a conditional date set. And so they bowed out of that one and took the other one. So it's, hiring right now for law enforcement's tough. It's really, really tough. The one positive thing that we have right now, all of the colleges just got done, which means there's going to be a crop of kids who still want to get into law enforcement, who are going to be out there applying. The odds that they've taken their post-test right now are slim to none, being that we're probably a week out from what their graduation was. So those kids are going to start looking for jobs, and they're going to be out, out seeking to, get their foot in the door and get started.
What, I guess my concern, and I'm against starting the process yet. I mean, I'm not saying we won't, I just want to give us some time. We also had, Tom was also our emergency services director. We have to figure out who's going to do that, who wants, where that's going to go. And I know from history, because of the years I've been here, that for 20 years, we operated with 4 officers. I mean, yes, crime is a little higher now, but I guess I'd just like to give us a little more time before we rush right into starting the process again. And that's just my feeling on it.
I'm somewhat inclined to agree, just in part also we need to have a discussion at an upcoming meeting about what we're going to do with the future of the K-9 program. And if we're going to continue that, then our hiring process should be more focused on trying to find a new handler rather than just a generic officer.
I will be perfectly honest with you. At this point in time, I am not inclined to support the K-9 program.
I figured that was the word.
My opinion on this is, with the past that's happened in the city here with the police officers, if you're down to what, 5 now?
4.
About 4.
4? Okay. I'm guessing within the past 5-7 years, there's been a few officers who have either had to quit or resigned. And if that happens now, you're really going to be short. Okay, I don't know if you want to back yourself into that position, especially since the sociology of the town has changed from the 20 years ago, because we were just a little bit more sleepier back then.
Oh, yeah.
But now with our different businesses in here, and I don't want to sound prejudicial, but with the chemical dependency centers in town here, that just brings in personalities of deviance by nature. And I would hate to have the police department get caught short-handed and then just make things a lot worse. So I would just, in my opinion, just err on the side of safety. Start the process, because we can always kick it back. But again, like Sean said, I think we need to involve what the K-9 program is, and probably look at a clear focus of where we want to go with here. Because I see some pretty good things happening, but we want to make sure that we keep a safe area.
I don't think we got much bang for our buck on the K-9 program. Very expensive, and I think other agencies use the K-9 almost more than we do. So at the end of the day, why should we provide a K-9 for the area when Stearns County should be doing that?
And I will say this, when we came before this council back in 2018 to start the process of the K-9 program, there was a significant difference in the landscape with K-9s. You had the Metro, you had Cold Spring who had one, you had the St. Cloud Metro area, that was pretty much the only other place you could get a dog. Since that time, you've got Cold Spring that now has 2 dogs. Avon PD has a patrol dog. The St. Cloud area still has their K-9s. Stearns County now has a patrol dog. They have, I believe, 2 bloodhounds and 2 narcotics dogs. So the dogs in the county are far more prevalent. And I think I believe the dog is necessary. I believe a dog in the area is necessary. But since this time too, Meeker County has also started a canine program, so they have, we have a bunch of dogs that are in close proximity to us, to where I don't know that need is necessarily as great to have one stationed here. I certainly understand, your concern, Gene, but I also know back, when I started the conversation was, we need to move towards this 5th officer just in general.
True.
And, for a time, we had the highest per capita homicide rate pretty much probably anywhere, For 2.5 years, it was 1 per 600 people in a 2.5-year span. And, a lot of that is chemical dependency and mental health driven, and those things aren't going away. We are in a precarious position, and we're going to be getting potentially worse with the completion of Highway 23, 4 lanes. That corridor between Wilmer and St. Cloud is going to drastically increase. And, my bigger concern as far as staffing goes is the potential wear and tear on the staff. We will be going down an officer for a significant period of time come later this year as they add to their family. So we're going to be down to 3 officers, and I don't have the staff, to necessarily cover that, which adds wear and tear on the guys, their time off, even through the summer. We've got things taken care of getting through the summer, but even some of the PTO that they've taken, they're absorbing shifts somewhere else, thus not having to take PTO just because there's no staff to work. There's nobody else to work to fill those shifts. So there's a concern for me in that with those guys saying, okay, how long, can they stand, running short? As it is, best case scenario with the timeline I've outlaid here, we will get that officer, assuming everything goes 100% perfect and this first round of applications actually brings in somebody, that we want. Best case scenario is this person's on the road early December and the officer's going to be going out late December. So they're going to be just getting onto the road at the time we're going to lose another officer, for that period of time for the paternity leave. So, those are some of the things that I look at with this. I think the longer we delay, the pool is thin. The longer we delay, the greater opportunity we have of missing that, that good fit for this department and the community.
Again, my opinion is, I would be in favor of starting the process, at least having the choice of candidates instead of having lose one for reasons unknown and then having to take what's there, because you're going to be staffed so short. And I just think that, my opinion, it's going to, if we can stay in front of this instead of behind it, it's just going to maybe let some people sleep a little bit better at night, knowing that we're not going to be pushed up against the wall. And that's just my opinion on that.
That's what the motion is.
Yeah.
That's what the motion is.
Mhm.
You just made it.
I'm looking out for you, Gene.
Okay.
I know that in the past, even when we were just down an officer due to injury, that was a little rough. Even when people, officers are just on call, they don't get paid that well for it, honestly, and they can't go anywhere, and they can't, just in case, and those other days off, that can be hard. And I think we'll be in a good position in that there are less people who are going to want to become police officers, but those who do seem to think that the smaller, sleepier towns are looking a little better right now than maybe they used to in the past. But if we do have concerns, is that something, how long do you think that Jean or Sean, do you think that it's something that we could maybe want to move on at the next meeting if we do decide to wait? Or how long do you think it'll take to gather the information that you two are considering?
I think a full-fledged discussion on the future of the K-9 program could be had at the next meeting.
Okay.
And I mean, I think I know where we all stand, and it sounds like we're all probably on the same page, but I think we still owe it, knowing the level of community support that it had, we owe it a full conversation.
I agree.
Yeah, the next meeting's fine,
Yeah.
I think.
My preference would be waiting until our next meeting at this point, but I get it.
Especially being the end of May.
I guess my,
Either way.
you know, when I look at this, you know, getting the process, and this is obviously up to you guys, but getting the process started doesn't lock us into hiring anybody.
That's true.
We can get the process started, you know, so that we can get rolling, and by the time we have those conversations, I mean, yeah, maybe tweaks a little bit how you advertise. My big concern with the K-9 program has always been if we eliminate it because of the community support, like the mayor alluded to. But I also think that, you know, we can always tweak that, you know, that hiring anyways. You know, we have to do an internal posting, and certainly there's not anybody within the internal posting that's going to, you know, going to put in for the K-9 position. You know, if that was the direction it was going to go, if we were going to replace that, so.
And there's nothing saying that down the road you can't revisit the K-9 if that proves to be feasible.
Well, the recommendation from the chief is to start the hiring process. We have a schedule here. I don't know if someone's willing to make a motion on this.
Before we end the discussion,
Yeah.
so where does this leave us with the emergency management director?
That's a discussion we need to still have.
Yep.
That's not part of the job at this point. It's just an officer.
I think at this point it would be, I haven't reviewed the bylaws, so Bill, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Tarek could appoint someone in the interim while we look at filling that role on a more permanent basis.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think it evolved from a position that was less formal to a more formal one in recent years. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of different ways to look at that, but, you know, given COVID and everything, it was a job that took more time, but I think traditionally it's been a job that not a lot happened.
Right.
I do know that there's quite a bit of online training to get your certificate.
So most, depending upon the city that you're in, when it comes to the emergency management, it's usually gonna fall on, if you've got a full-time fire department, on the fire chief or the police chief. A lot of agencies have that. As it sits right now, we could utilize, in the interim, Stearns County's emergency management, most likely. Kristen, the county's emergency management, did reach out to me late last week, I think it was Thursday, because we were supposed to have potential severe storms. That's the majority of what the emergency management director does is, you know, calls in storm spotters when bad weather comes in. So I told her just to contact me for the time being until we got things figured out as far as where we're gonna go from there. So she at least had a point of contact. Plus I have access to the police department to let those guys in. So.
I think that sounds like a good option for now.
Well, I will make the motion to approve starting the hiring process for a full-time police officer with the above tentative hiring process and allow the police department and administration to continue with the process until a recommendation may be made to the council.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Thielen, seconded by Brick, to approve the hiring process and allow the police department administration to continue until a recommendation can be made, as on the action sheet. Any further discussion on that? All right, hearing and seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed?
Opposed.
One opposed, that does carry. All right, back to old business, letter A, the irrigation system improvements. Chuck, I believe this is you, is that right?
Yep, just a quick update, that project is substantially complete. As the council may recall, that was the extension of our wastewater irrigation system to serve the new pivot on the property the city purchased a little over a year ago at the old Tamer property. So the pipe has all been put in and is operational. So we'll hopefully be closing that project out in the near future. In your packet is a copy of pay request number 1 for that project in the amount of $222,129.95.
And how are we pronouncing that again?
Keekly.
Thanks.
I'll make the motion to approve payment estimate number 1 in the amount of $222,129.95 payable to Keekly Underground Incorporated.
Can I offer an amendment on there to add the date through April 30th?
It's on the invoice.
Okay, that's good enough, and that's fine.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll second it.
Here we have a motion by Hertzberg, seconded by Soini, to approve payment estimate number 1, the amount of $222,129.95 payable to Keekly Underground. Any further discussion on that? None, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None, that carries. All right, Ron or Chuck with the airport grant?
Okay, the coronavirus grant, 2 meetings ago, I believe it was, was brought forward to you, and that was the FAA's portion of it, and we got that submitted, and now they're coming back, and MnDOT is actually the people who execute it, so we do need to approve the resolution authorizing the grant again on MnDOT's behalf. Again, it is $13,000 being granted us to, and we can utilize it for anything corona related. And during the inspection that the FAA people had out here, they would actually like to see us utilize it for crack sealing on the runway. So if it qualifies for that, by all means, we'll do it.
I don't know what that has to do with coronavirus, but.
I think it has everything to do with it. Don't ask me why, but I think it does.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'll make the motion as printed on the action sheet.
Okay,
Too many words.
I'll second.
we have a motion by Soini, seconded by Brick, as stated on the action sheet, to approve resolution 2021-11 and authorizing the appropriate signatories. Any further discussion on that? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None. That carries. All right. Skipping then to page 85, letter E, final plat for Paytelco Plat 2. All right, this says I'm supposed to ask either Tarek or Bill for a report, so I don't know which one of you wants to go.
I mean, I'm happy to talk about the plat. I asked before the people from Lewis left if they had signed the development agreement, which is sort of part of this. They said they thought they had. I don't know if Tarek knows for sure one way or another, but in any event, the plat has been to planning, and planning has approved the plat, and I think it's been reviewed by staff, and I don't think there's any problems. It's just an unusual plat because all the lots are substandard, so the development agreement has language indicating basically that as lots are transferred, they need to be conveyed for purposes of attachment to a contiguous lot because they're not useful for anything otherwise. But that's my understanding, that's their plan anyway, and they're happy to do that. That's what they want to do. They want to split this off to the adjoining businesses. And Lewis Industries will build across this and that was part of the reason for the variance, because title to all these properties aren't the same name, but the plan is to get them there. So the variance was only needed because they're not currently owned the same, but if they are, they could become a single tax parcel in their situation, and then the variance wouldn't have been necessary. So that's my understanding of the plan. I just don't, my only concern is if the development agreement's not signed, the city shouldn't sign the plat. We can approve the plat, but I would recommend that it not be signed by city representatives until we have a signed development agreement.
And we don't know if we have a sign.
I don't. No. Tarp might.
No, I don't.
Okay.
That solves that?
Well, we can approve it, just not sign it.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure that Lance would come in and sign it, knowing that, but somebody will have to call him and tell him to come down and do it. Because he seems to be thinking that he already did.
Well, Jennifer will probably know it when she comes back.
Yeah.
I think she's back.
I don't think it happened. I think Tarp would know if it was done.
Yeah, probably. I'll make the motion to waive the park land dedication fees. Is that
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Soini, seconded by Hertzberg, to waive the parkland dedication fees. Any discussion on that? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? That carries. Okay. And we have the development agreement and the resolution.
I'll make the motion to approve the Pay-Delco Plat 2 development agreement between the City of Painesville and Lewis Properties LLC.
A second.
So we have a motion by Soini, seconded by Brick, to approve the Pay-Delco Plat 2 development agreement between the city and Lewis Properties. Any discussion on that? None. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None. That carries. Okay. Then, resolution 20-21, or 2021-12.
I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2021-12, approving final plat of Pay-Delco Plat 2.
Second.
We have the motion to approve resolution 2021-12, approving final plat of Pay-Delco Plat 2. Then Bill, you wanted us to withhold signing everything pending verification of the agreement on their part, right?
Yes, I would just suggest that in approving the resolution that you direct that the plat, the official plat not be signed until the development agreement is signed.
No problem.
So is that part of your motion then, Mr. Hertzberg, that it not be, the final approval not be given until Lewis signs off on their end?
Correct.
Okay. And you're good with that as your second?
Second, yes.
Okay. All in favor then, or if there's no further discussion, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? That carries. Okay. On to our update then, hiring of the liquor store clerks. We did do a number of interviews. And based on those interviews, we are recommending that Ms. Desmond be hired as the seasonal clerk.
I'll make the motion to hire Shaylin Desmond for the seasonal part-time liquor store clerk position, up to 28 hours a week, grade 1, step 1, 1077.
A motion by Soini, is there a second?
Second.
By Thielen. Okay. So a motion to hire Shaylin Desmond for the seasonal part-time liquor store clerk position at the grade and pay information listed in the agenda. Any discussion on that?
I'm going to abstain from this one as well.
Okay. Councilmember Brick will abstain.
And at this time, we're not looking to fill the part-time position? I see there's policy and procedures recommends not.
I think that's something that Bill's going to need to figure out going forward, if it's worth putting out another round of applications or trying to get more. At this time, it sounds like no.
Yeah.
All right. Any further discussion? None. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. Carries. Okay. Then the customer service specialist, DMV. Policies and procedures did do an interview here as well, and we recommend reposting this.
I'll make the motion to repost for the part-time customer service specialist DMV position up to 30 hours a week in grade 4, step 1, $17.10 per hour.
Second.
We have a motion by Sony, seconded by Hertzberg, to repost for the part-time customer service specialist DMV position up to 30 hours per week. Discussion on that. Tarek, I'm just wondering if you know, how is that being posted?
Well, last time we posted it on our website, as well as, I think it was on social media and then the local newspapers. So, I mean, you could widen the posting to other sites, but realistically, for a position like this, we're better off finding somebody that's in the community or we're very close to the community. So I recommend we, look at other sources that are close, such as the paper and website again, but maybe some other sources that we didn't look at or consider last time.
I think it would be worthwhile to expand it, and I guess the thought I'm having is wondering if it's even worthwhile calling Len Gilmore to see if he's got anyone. He keeps a wide pool of applicants for various things. So,
I just got a quick question too. I know we're talking about the customer service specialist, just curious about the PD. I noticed that that didn't make it on here as far as reposting that at the same time for the PD secretary.
Tarek, has the PD secretary been reposted already?
No, I don't think it has actually. I can double check.
Okay. Yes, policies did not do any interviews there, so I don't know why it's not on here.
Just amended.
Yep, so, are you offering an amendment to your motion?
I didn't make, oh, did I make a motion?
You made the motion.
Okay, I'm amending it to add the police secretary.
Okay.
Yeah, it has not been reposted.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, the motion has been seconded already, so we have a motion to amend the motion by Councilmember Soini to include reposting for the police secretary position. Is there a second to the amendment?
Second.
Okay. So then, on the amendment to include the police secretary, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. That carries. Then any discussion on the final motion, which is reposting the part-time customer service specialist and police secretary. Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. Carries. Okay. Then back to the COVID-19 information. We voted on the first two items here. Last year, the council also authorized temporary outdoor dining for the on-sale liquor establishments within Painesville, and there was an ordinance to that effect. I don't know, did public safety vote on this one, chief?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
I don't see this need, really.
Yeah, I think
Both,
we just kind of decided that we really didn't care one way or another, so.
Right.
well, both the establishments have outdoor patios and They just will stay on their patios. That's already legal.
Right, everything is.
Like, this was ongoing before the COVID.
Yeah, they had a patio always. It was to extend it to
Yeah.
more space if they wanted.
And both establishments in town have gotten rid of those exclusions. You know, when winter hit, apparently they didn't want to serve outside, so.
Yeah.
Can't imagine why.
I wouldn't bother with it.
I don't think we have to do anything there, do we?
Nope, just let it
Because we allow it already.
I don't remember the specifics of the extension, but it was basically to allow, like, Queen Bee's to serve on the sidewalk, or what do
Yep.
you do?
Correct. So basically, I believe the way it was set up is when all indoor dining got shut down, we went in and we expanded the ordinance or instituted this temporary outdoor dining to allow them to expand their space, either use sidewalks or in the case of the Legion, the parking lot,
Right.
for dining purposes. Because ultimately, I believe the theory was that now they're going to be extending their alcohol sales outside their normal confined space.
And I'm just trying to pull up the ordinance to see if it had a sunset date.
No, it's part of the enclosed patio stuff they can do.
I'm not sure any of our stuff had a sunset date, Sean.
No, I don't think so.
So if we don't do anything, then this just continues.
At the regular ordinance. The original one.
Not if it wouldn't have a sunset date, then they'd still be permitted the outdoor dining.
Yeah.
Well, you can consume in the patio,
Yeah.
but no, like in the street or parking lot is a no.
Correct.
And I know that's always an issue at the Legion, like weddings, people want to smoke and have their drink with them, and management has tried to handle that, but it's a struggle.
I believe the intent at the time we did this was we wanted to give those establishments, especially during the summer, the opportunity to be able to serve food, serve their alcohol, because they couldn't indoors. So I don't know that removing this, you know, and taking this one back really will do anything, because now they can serve indoors. And as of Friday, I believe they can serve at full capacity indoors. So there really isn't a need to have the temporary authorization in there anymore.
I guess where I'm looking for clarification, and I can't find the ordinance, is that temporary authorization still in there, or did that expire? Because if it's still in there, then theoretically they could still serve
On the
outdoors.
sidewalks or in the parking lot.
So then, if we don't need that anymore, then we should consider revoking that.
Right.
Maybe that would be best.
Yes.
Seems to me it would make sense to get the ordinance in front of us and look at it, though, before we do it.
Yeah, let's wait till next time.
I mean, I don't remember what it says. I mean, I think both of them in their enclosed patios can do that now.
Yeah.
They can.
I don't know that there would be anything wrong with that, even without the temporary ordinance, so I assume it allowed them somehow to expand that area, but I don't really remember the parameters of it, honestly.
Yeah, it was to allow, and I'm trying to pull up the public safety meeting.
It's
Because
not on our agenda,
the ordinance wasn't there.
and it's not in the council minutes either, so I don't know.
We'll have to investigate that.
Yeah, let's table that one, and Jennifer and Tara can do some investigation and bring that back to our next meeting.
Okay.
The next thing is the council, as everything got going last year, did pass the emergency declaration and preparedness plans. We talked a little bit about revising the preparedness plans to get rid of masking. I think the ultimate question here is whether or not we want to continue the emergency declaration when public safety met, the inclination is yes, let's get rid of it. We don't particularly need that anymore. My biggest concern in getting rid of it is if there's more money coming in some way, maybe from FEMA or some other federal organization, if we're not in a declared state of emergency, would we be eligible for that funding? It doesn't give me any super executive powers or anything like that. We've been pretty much status quo for the last year anyway. I guess my feeling is that until we know a clear answer on whether it will cost us future money, we just keep it in place.
And I did reach out, just so you guys know, I did reach out to Representative Fishbach's office and also Senator Howe today. Actually, I reached out to Representative Fishbach's office last week on this. I do not have an answer back from them as to whether or not it would affect anything. What I initially got from him was we should check with your state reps and local reps and state senators on it, which was a little confusing because we're talking FEMA. But in talking with Senator Howe today, there's a proposal, I believe that's at the governor's desk, to remove the emergency powers and let MDH issue a public health declaration or something along that lines, taking a stance very similar to what Alaska did. They removed the, emergency side of things just in general and kept it strictly as a public health matter. And according to what Senator Howe was telling me, apparently that has sufficed to continue to be able to get that funding. So I think there's a lot of moving parts on the question, and hopefully we'll have a better answer.
I doubt that a bill like that's going to get to Governor Walz's desk. It's not going to go through the House.
I believe it's a proposal. I don't know that it's just a.
It'll pass the Senate, but it's not going any further than that.
I think it's a documented discussion at this point.
Well, to be safe, I think we should say continue, and
Yep.
it's basically just wording on paper. I mean, we pretty much covered the other stuff in the other two motions. So I'll make the motion to continue.
Okay. We have a motion by Hertzberg to continue. Is there a second?
I will second it.
Okay. So we have a motion by Hertzberg, seconded by Thielen, to continue with the emergency declaration and just the emergency declaration, and we can talk about the preparedness plans in a second.
Yes.
Okay. All right, any further discussion on that? And we can keep revisiting that as we go forward as well, so that's not a set in stone either. So, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None? That carries. All right, then the preparedness plans, as we talked a little bit about, there were some drafted to reopen the DMV and do other things like that. And public safety is just, I think, recommending that we continually revise those so that the preparedness plans reflect the current CDC and Minnesota Department of Health guidelines, rather than being sort of the rigid documents that they are now.
Makes sense.
And previously, they had to come through the council for approval, so I think the suggestion from the Public Safety Committee is that basically department heads can work with Tarek on drafting a preparedness plan and submit it and operate under that. Was that your understanding, Paul?
Yeah, I think when we looked at the preparedness plans, I don't know that we saw anything to really pull out of them, other than, the mask mandate was pretty much the big thing. And then, I guess we did talk about the temperature taking.
Yeah.
And stuff, so.
Almost 6 feet apart goes away Friday too.
Yeah, it does. I did talk with the ladies at City Hall today before the council meeting, and, just kind of discussed their thoughts on like the plexiglass, and I think everybody feels that the other procedures in place currently, the plexiglass, the, different entry here, is still important. The closing times as well, because they're still busy enough that, you know, they don't want to dive back into a bunch of overtime and stuff like that. So they just kind of seem like, with what we had talked about at public safety, those things were adequate for them.
So then essentially, we'd be looking for a motion to allow the department heads and the city administrator to modify the preparedness plans in accordance with the CDC and MDH guidelines.
I'll make that motion also.
Okay?
I will second that motion.
We have a motion by Hertzberg, seconded by Thielen, to allow the department heads and the city administrator to amend and revisit the preparedness plans in accordance with the CDC and MDH guidelines. All in favor, or any further discussion on that? Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? That carries. All right, then we have some informational, including our police reports on page 107, some Stearns County meeting notices, and our June and July meeting schedules. With that, we are